I'm Will Leggetter.
And today we continue our fortnight celebration of William Goldman. We've unintentionally put back-to-back his 2 Oscar wins. His second Oscar for screenplay was for adapted screenplay for All the President's Men.
Unit 1 to Unit 2.
What?
We're home. Base 1 to Unit 1. Base 1 to Unit 1.
Hold it, you mother! Hold it! Police!
There's been a break-in at Democratic headquarters, and they were bugging the place. Woodward, Bernstein, you're both on the story now. Don't get up.
Redford.
I'm Bob Woodward of the Washington Post. Mr. Markham, are you here in connection with the Watergate burglary? I'm not here.
Hoffman.
Hi, this is Carl Bernstein of the Washington Post, and I was just wondering if you can remember...
All the President's Men.
We'll get to this in the Oscar travesty category, or whatever we want to call it, segment. But this is an absolutely stacked year for the Oscars, 76. It's always one I go to when it comes to... it's actually always the one I go to for travesty. Whenever anybody says that Rocky's great, I go, yeah, but is it as good as Network, All the President's Men, Taxi Driver, and Network? Did I say Network?
You did.
The story of the 2 young reporters who cracked the Watergate conspiracy.
White House.
Howard Hunt, please.
He might be in Mr. Colson's office.
Who's Charles Colson? Did you know, Howard Hunt?
Well, the White House said he was doing some investigative work.
What do you say?
They stumbled into leads.
Certainly it comes as no surprise to you that Howard was with the CIA.
No surprise at all.
They tripped over clues.
We'd like to see all the material requested by the White House.
All White House transactions are confidential.
This whole thing is a cover-up. It's right on our nose.
And piece by piece, they solve the greatest detective story in American history.
There is no way the White House can control the investigation.
I don't want to say any more, okay?
Have you been threatened if you tell the truth?
Is there a cover-up?
Don't you understand what you're on to?
Mitchell knew.
Of course, Mitchell knew.
Woodward! Bernstein! Get in here! At times, it looked as if it might cost them their jobs.
You guys are about to write a story that says the former Attorney General, the highest-ranking law enforcement officer in this country, is a crook.
I can't remember what the 5th nomination is, but is it All the President's Men?
Maybe.
No, it is. I just didn't say it.
Okay.
Anyway, we'll get to that in Oscar travesty.
Their reputations.
Why is the Post trying to do it? I don't know.
Perhaps even their lives.
This is the tale of the true tale of Woodward and Bernstein. Bob Woodward, Carl Bernstein. Oh, go on.
I believe is this our second Watergate film we've done? Because if you want to
first film, Watergate film.
If you want to kind of it depends if you want to do Postcards from the Inn.
How is that a Watergate film?
Oh, wait, is it Heartburn?
Carl Bern? Are you talking about Carl Bernstein?
Yeah.
Yes, this is technically our second Carl Bernstein film. Yes, no, Carl Bernstein was married to Nora Ephron, and he was a cheating dog, and Nora Ephron wrote a wonderful book about it, and then she wrote a wonderful screenplay about it, and they made it into a film with Meryl Streep and Jack Nicholson. Go watch the episode and go watch the film. It's great. But this is and he's not technically Carl Bernstein. He's Mark Foreman, but he is Carl Bernstein. But this is, yes, technically our second Carl Bernstein film. They never made a third. There should have been a unintentional, unofficial trilogy of Carl Bernstein films. But here we are. We are here with All the President's Men, the story of Bob Woodward, Carl Bernstein, as they unravel the conspiracy surrounding the Watergate bugging fiasco, really, as they slowly figure out that it goes all the way to the top.
Shall we just clarify what Watergate was? Because I still don't. I mean, I know it's a hotel, and I know that it should be really called Watergate Gate. But other than that,
well, no. It shouldn't be called Watergate Gate. It should be called Watergate, and everything after this point. People don't realise that. So the term now is, Watergate, and then it was Bike Gate. They just add gate to the end of something.
Yeah.
People don't realise this. It was the Watergate Hotel. It wasn't the Water Hotel, and they added gate as some sort of thing.
Yeah, but
so it shouldn't actually be Watergate Gate. Will Watergate?
What would they call it? What would they call it when there's a massive scandal relating to water? What would you call it?
Watergate. I mean, and people would go, I thought we were done with Watergate, and they go, no, it's new Watergate. I don't know. They'd have to call it like the Plumbing Gate.
Okay.
So basically, knock-a-door run history. Nixon basically gave the go-ahead for many of his higher-up officials to lead a gigantic web of covert operations, spying, bugging people all over the country. And it came to a head when there was a specific attempt to bug the Democratic headquarters at the Watergate Hotel, so that they could get information for future presidencies and all that. He was a surveillance nut, basically. I mean, J. Edgar Hoover, it's an odd one, because J. Edgar Hoover, 20 years earlier, not praised for it, but he was acknowledged for it, and he got his head in it. But it led to Nixon's not firing, not impeachment, resignation. People sometimes forget that Nixon wasn't impeached. He resigned. He resigned before he could be impeached.
I was doing a quiz the other day, and the question was, who was, what, it was 73?
Yeah, 70, yes. 72, whatever, anyway.
Right. Anyway. And the question was, it was like a riddle sort of round, and the question was, so you knew it wasn't the right answer, you had to think outside the box, and the question was, what was the president called in 1972, or whatever? And I'm like, okay. They're going to make you think it's Nixon, but actually it's...
Lyndon B. Johnson.
Yeah. No. The answer was Donald Trump. And it frustrated me, because the president, Donald Trump is the president, and he was still called Donald Trump back in 1970.
That's a bloody shit question.
I thought I deserved at least a bonus point for thinking outside the box, but no.
But how did you think outside the box? You just answered the question, didn't you?
Yeah, but I thought I'd address the trick, because people would have put Nixon rather than the vice.
It was Nixon in 72.
Well, the year that he wasn't.
What, when he resigned?
Yeah.
That was only near the end.
All right.
Alas. So, any other questions, Will, on the Watergate scandal?
No, I think that's something. I just wanted, because obviously it was. It's just understanding how big of a deal it was back then. Was there a scandal like this beforehand that was that big, with the president involved?
There was Chappaquiddick, but that wasn't the president. That was a big cover-up when Kennedy, not John F., was drove off a bridge with a poor woman inside, and that was another thing that the Nixon administration heavily investigated. They wanted lots of dirt on Chappaquiddick, and Chappaquiddick's just a fun thing to say. They made a bad movie about Chappaquiddick actually a few years back. Wish it was better. Yeah, no, I mean, you could, not to get too political, but you could very much argue that stuff like this has been happening in the current administration. They're just, and you know, the worst part is that there are Woodward and Bernsteins, and people know that there is stuff happening, just ignoring it. Well, not ignoring it, but getting around it. And
it's a scary world we live in. It's a very scary world.
It is, and just when you think everything's, well, not fine, but not getting worse, something worse happens. It's great stuff. YouTube comments. The unofficial sequel to The Post.
Let's, right, 20 seconds for The Post. Let's talk about it.
Shit film, terrible film.
Yep.
Bad film,
Very
boring.
Good. Yeah.
Don't know why it got nominated for Best Picture.
Disappointing to say it had Tom and Marilyn.
And Spielberg behind the...
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just bad. It certainly wasn't Spotlight. We both love Spotlight. No. Spotlight is just shy of being as rewatchable as All the President's Men. It's just about molestation.
It's a more difficult thing to rewatch.
So all the fun, because I will say it's fun. All the fun, you know, figuring it all out and all the you know, the big newspaper stuff and doing all the notes. But then you have to have lots of monologues from victims, and you sort of, this is terrible. I mean, you never forget it's terrible, but it's less fun. And then somebody's commented, the unofficial prequel to All the President's Men. Ooh, exciting. The greatest detective story in American history. What a tagline.
Has this person not seen Columbo?
In American history, Will.
Was he not real, Columbo?
No, he wasn't. This is from President Redford. I'm President Redford, and I approve of this trailer. And yes, the picture is Robert Redford. So,
ask the president, or is it just, have they not gone to that much effort?
No. I mean, how could you make him look like the president?
I suppose you put him behind the Oval Office desk.
But it's only a YouTube thumbnail.
It is.
I remember hearing that when some film promoters were told about the premise of All the President's Men, they dismissed it by claiming, we already know what happened. What's the point of having it as a movie? Fortunately, it was made. And unlike most detective stories, this isn't a whodunit, it's a howdunit.
You could apply the same logic to Titanic. We already know what happens. What's the point in watching it? Which is what I say every time someone puts it on.
Not exactly, because we don't know what happens with Jack and Rose. All we know is that the ship sinks. We do know everything about Woodward and Bernstein and Nixon. Confidence is the key word. You're goddamn right. Robert Redford, so smooth in this film, so handsome, so charming. So we failed to mention in the Butch Cassidy episode that for me that is just the purest distillation of charisma for two performances ever. Newman and Redford in that. And even Redford and Hoffman in this, you know, Justin Hoffman as Bernstein is a bit more dirty, I won't say filthy, but a bit more down and dirty when he's with his tactics and stuff. And he's obviously Justin Hoffman, so he's a bit shorter and a bit more scraggy. And then you've got tall, blonde, wonderful Redford. And the funny thing is, of course, when it comes to The Graduate, was that in the book, Benjamin Braddock is described as a Robert Redford type, and so Robert Redford really wanted the role, and he was friends with Mike Nichols, and Mike Nichols famously said to him, well, have you ever struck out with a woman? And Robert Redford's response was, what do you mean? And so he went with Dustin Hoffman instead. And now we get them both on the same film. They still use typewriters.
I still use a typewriter.
Typewriters are wonderful.
Yeah.
If I had enough desk space, I struggle to have enough desk space, so I always have my record player plugged in.
Yeah.
I would like to get a typewriter again for letters, not for screenplays or books or anything.
No, it's just editing is a faff.
It's just impractical. But letters, I would greatly
It's
enjoy.
a nice little personal touch. I wrote the headers for all of my sketchbook pages when I did A-level art in typewriter font, and it just made it look a bit more creative.
I'm sure it did. Will, what's your favourite 10-minute stretch?
My favourite 10-minute stretch. I've got 3 contenders. Under the car park, going into typewriter. It is a car park, isn't it?
It is a car park, yes. Where it needs to be.
Yeah, there's the layout looks a lot like their actual office, but just dark, like an empty office.
You think they reused the set?
They did.
Get the desks out. We're shooting another deep throat scene.
No, that's a great scene. I love that.
Which one's your favourite?
The first meeting, the warning, I think it's those moments are complete contrast to which I've got here in my notes. It's sort of the fast pace of the movie, the claustrophobicness, kind of like Uncut Gems. That's what I can compare it to. You've always got the background noise of phones ringing or the typewriters. Everyone's in a mad sort of rush, and there's always action, and you feel your neck tightening. And then you've got the payoff of those dark moments when there's like a sudden threat which needs to be addressed.
There's a slightly corny line in some of the behind-the-scenes featurettes, but it's true. And the guy goes, it's the sort of plot device that if it was in a detective novel, you wouldn't believe it. But it's the finest plot device in any screenplay ever. And it's true. If this, if this feels like the sort of thing that would be added to it to make it more movie-like. Yeah. But it's not. This is genuinely what happened. We'll talk. We'll talk about Mark Felt later, because we of course now do know who Deep Throat was, which was we never had this mystery really because we were alive by the time that Mark. Well, we were conscious. Well, you're conscious before you, whatever. Anyway, as you were.
I've got the opening 10 minutes. I've cheated again and kind of put it into 10 minutes because it's a bit longer than a minute. Well, but I love that the June with the typewriter close shot, and then you've got the perfect amount of context with Nixon. I love it. I love it.
The break-in is expertly directed.
Yeah.
Every little single shot builds it up. Just you're so tense already. It's like the iceberg scene. You know what's going to happen. You know the ship's going to hit the iceberg, but you still, they're going to miss. You're hoping that the police do get them this time, but just that brilliant mounting of tension of the top walkie-talkie ringing out, so they have to turn it off, and then hello, anybody there? Anybody there? And then, wonderful stuff.
And then for my last contender, I've got the last 10 minutes. That slow zoom into the TV. That's fantastic. That's very good.
Majestic. It's majestic. It's a cheat. It's 6.5 minutes. But the long take into Redford, where it just holds, and it's the talking with Dolberg, then McGregor.
Now, what he did with it, I really do not know.
I see. Were there any other checks, sir, that you might be aware of that could have come?
That's all I had to say.
Mr. McGregor. Mr. Dahlberg. I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
Bob.
Yeah.
Carl Bernstein on line 1.
1? Yep. Bernstein.
I think I got a lead on Dolberg.
I got it.
What?
I just talked to him. I just hung up from him. Bernstein, listen, it goes all the way to Stans.
What are you talking about?
It goes all the way to Stans. He gave the check to Stans for the committee to re-elect.
Did he say that?
He said it. I've got it on my notes.
Jesus.
It's down on record, Bernstein.
That money winds up in the bank account of a Watergate burglar?
Yes.
Fantastic. I'm coming home.
The great flub at the end, which was a real, genuine flub that they kept in because he was doing 6.5-minute takes. And so Mr. Dahlberg, McGregor, they kept it in, and it's so pitch perfect.
Great, isn't it?
And the incredible, stranger than fiction, it must be true of the Dahlberg. I've had a terrible ordeal. My neighbor's wife's been kidnapped. These strange little true details, like later on with the whole Canuck letter situation. And I've got a wife, a kid, and a dog and a cat. And the repetition of that when he then says that again to Ben Bradley, it's a really, really expertly made screenplay and film. I also have the final. From the final deep throat, you're in danger, to the blasting of classical music and the typing, bugging, and Sloane admitting that he was going to indict Haldeman, but nobody asked him about Haldeman. It's these ingenious little moments in history that are solidified and put beautifully into the best scene in the film on the front porch of Ben Bradley's house, with one of the greatest speeches of all time in movie history, which I will recite.
Sure, you will perform.
Oh yes. The Doors sequence, not the band. The slow sequence. I mean, it's sort of repeated throughout it. You could call it a motif, but the specific 10 minutes early on, with the anxious woman who's about to cry, and all the people in between, of doors shutting after doors shutting, and that wonderful little comic part where they get the wrong Miss Abbott, and I think it goes higher than what you even are thinking, and then I just think it's a wonderful thing what you boys are doing. And how long have you worked for the committee to re-elect? I work at Garfinkel's. Marvelous stuff.
And what's also great about that scene is it happens at night. I've never noticed it, but like the time of day can really make a difference.
Pathetic fallacy, Will. It is a literary and filmic term where the weather sets the mood. Pathetic fallacy.
It's like we're all car adverts have rain to make them more sexy.
Is that true? I see a lot of car adverts where they're just driving through the desert and it's sunny.
Ooh. Well, you're watching the wrong car adverts.
I'm assure you, I'm not trying to seek them out. And the Canuck letter back and forth with Sally Aiken. We don't want to, we don't want to publish that you're in Sally Aiken's apartment. We need a confirmation. It's just wonderful. Sally Aiken, Redford / Woodward, whatever, is just done with this now. He needs some solid hard facts. And he goes, "Do you think he was saying that just to impress you to go to bed with you?" And then by the time, and then I like that she gets involved, and that she has the I don't have the taste for the juggler that you guys have, but then she gets with them, and then she goes, "Guys, he's on the phone," and he goes, "Well, we were only in my apartment. It was just a drink," and that wonderful back and forth. And then they go to Bradley. Anytime, I don't know what it is. I don't want to be too crude, so I'll just say I get really excited. Anytime they run through the newspaper office, I don't know what it is. I just get so pumped when they run through the newspaper office. Any run back and forth of Carl, Bob, Bradley, get Bradley. Running through, it's excellent. And the fact that we see it every time as well, that Alan, the wonderful director, Alan J. Pakula, never cuts away. We always see the long shot run. It's fantastic. And also, they're clearly just getting use out of that set. They remade the whole Washington Post office.
Yes, which I shall get to.
Yeah. Tom's really specific favourite parts of the film. As you said, the opening type. What a way to start a film. 5 to 10 seconds of just a white page, and you think that the film isn't working. And then you can talk about jump scares. Boom, boom. The typewriter scares the shit out of you.
Almost reminiscent of sort of the Sherlock Holmes movie, the second one. I quite like that, and I like that how that ends with like the question mark. That's good. And then the series of unfortunate events movie with again Jude Law at the typewriter.
Oh yes, he was.
Yes.
What about that? Of course, they're reminiscent of this. Not the other way around. The initial court. I'm not here.
Yeah.
And from there, we know what's going to happen. We know what's going to happen. The rewriting scene, I should have technically put it in single minute, but anyway, the rewriting scene back and forth, and then Redford immediately, no, yours is better. If you're going to hype it with the facts. I don't mind what you, I don't mind what you did. I mind how you did it. And that's it. We, again, just like Butch, we know our characters immediately. The economy and beauty and hilarity and tense nature of Goldman's scripts is flawless. The librarian, yes, no, I believe that Hunt took a load of books out, and then, no, I don't, no, I don't even really know her, Mr. Hunt. Just all these little early moments in the first hour or so where we know that it's a big conspiracy because we've seen the film before, or we know about Watergate, but all these little moments that at the time must have been hair-raising of, oh, wait, something's really happening here. We need to be careful of it. Ben Bradley pulling his pen out and then the incredible Jason Robards. Let's talk about him now.
Yeah.
Steals the film. One of my favorite performances, again in Magnolia, one of my all-time favorite films. A beautiful mosaic of different stories and performances, and written and directed by the excellent Paul Thomas Anderson, and scored by Amy Mann and John Bryan. Just a terrific film. And the final scene with Tom Cruise. Well, no, there is a very specific scene where Jason Robards has a long monologue about regret. Gets me every time. And as I'm 20, and that hits home for me. I can only imagine how painful that monologue is going to be to hear when I am 30, 40. I can't even imagine it if I get to Jason Robards' age. Go on.
I'll do it for a speech when I come to your wedding.
The fucking regret. The regret. The fucking regret. And I fucked around, but I loved her. Oh, it's incredible. And that's another moment there's lots of little moments in Magnolia where we just cut across from all the characters. And it's, oh, wow. Just an incredible film, which we'll undoubtedly get to. Actually, I'm saying undoubtedly. I know. I've scheduled it. So there we go.
You haven't got it. Librarian and secretary say Hunt looked at a book. That's not good enough.
White House aide told me that Hunt was investigating Kennedy.
Who was it?
Who was it? You want the name, you mean?
No. How senior? How high up?
I don't know titles.
So a special interest in we said the White House was investigating Kennedy.
So a special interest in.
Jesus, story stronger than that. We got a White House librarian who said that Hunt checked out a whole lot of books. We got a secretary in Colson's office and Hunt was sitting at the desk.
Carl. Ben, that's a page one story.
Stick it inside someplace.
This is a goddamn important story.
Get some harder information next time.
What a way to introduce a character. Deep Throat turning on his lighter. Flawless. I've got two little Ben Bradley snaps here. What sort of crazy fucking story is this? Talking about first time I hit. What did you just say? We call him Deep Throat. He's on Garage Freak. What the fuck? Great. And then another great Ben Bradley stab. God damn it, when is somebody going to go on this record on this fucking story? Because by that time, we're with him. We want somebody. We know why they can't go on the record, because they might get killed. But God damn it, we need some records on this story. The paranoia really hitting home for Woodward when he run, turn around, music cuts. Because we're with him. And that terrifying scream of Bradley, Woodstein! When that first issue goes out and they don't have the facts and somebody miscontributed, and it's terrifying. And and you think, wait, you know that's not how the film's going to end, but for a minute you go, wait a minute, is this how the film's going to end, or was it all pointless? What's my general favourite part of the film?
I've not got many, but I have very proudly written, "Look, I'm tired of your chicken shit games." That's great.
And it's another snap moment. We understand the danger that Deep Throat is in more than anybody, really. Proved by the fact that by the time that Mark Felt admitted to it, he was going to die. He was so not scared. Scared's the wrong word, but scared for his life. No, scared is the right word. But by the time you need chicken shit games.
I love sort of the first time they bring up Deep Throat, and they're on about that sort of the garage freak, and he's like, and then there's that dramatic, I call him Deep Throat. I love that.
The wonderful man Balsam.
Yes.
In a great Twilight Zone episode about Wax Museum of Murderers and 12 Angry Men, obviously. He's excellent in. Wonderful stuff, my Balsam. And Psycho.
Of course. And then to finish it off with, I've got when he's in the court, that initial court scene, and Starkey goes off, and he goes to the next guy to the right, and he's like, Starkey, that's STA. And I like how he spells it. It's a bit comedy.
And the mumbling of the CIA. I used to work for the CIA. Sorry? I used to work for the Central Intelligence. Sorry. The CIA, security. Oh! That's drop the needle. And we've got a film.
Americans, the Honorable Chief Justice will administer the oath of office to the President of the United States of America. Mr. Chief Justice.
Mr. President, are you ready to take the constitutional oath? If you will place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand, and please repeat after me. I, Richard Nixon, do solemnly swear.
I, Richard Nixon, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
That I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability.
And will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Oscar travesty. As previously alluded to, Rocky won Best Director and Best Picture. Rocky, come on. All the President's Men, Taxi Driver, Network, Bound for Glory less so. It's the worst Hal Ashby 70s movie, but Hal Ashby's 70s run. Oh my God. Harold and Maude being there, Shampoo, Last Detail, Coming Home. What a bloody run that is. Now, what do we think is the best picture here? So I think we agreed it's either All the President's Men, Network, or Taxi Driver.
I think it's the one of Peter Finch.
Sorry? You don't? No, we're on about Best Picture.
Yes, and the Best Picture I can see is of... sorry,
Peter,
it was wasted. It was wasted. Obviously, this coming out on Spotify will be an issue. There is a picture of Peter Finch to the right-hand side of the screen.
That I can't see because that's where you are.
Can you? Oh, all right. Well, the picture of me then, even better.
Well, I think it might be All the President's Men. I'm going to say Network is my 20th favourite film of all time. I'm going to go All the President's Men for Best Picture. I'm going to say Scorsese for Director, which he didn't even get a nomination for. She's baffling, which we'll come to on the Taxi Driver episode, obviously. No. So Jason Robards won for Best Supporting Actor. I mean, I don't think either of us are annoyed with that. I think both of us are rather happy about that. Albeit, no nomination for Redford or De Niro. Yeah. Now, I have to get rid of Giancarlo but we do love Giancarlo Gianni. Inspector Patsy from Hannibal. And the voice of the Joker in the 1989 Batman in Spain.
Oh, really? Oh, very good.
When they dubbed it. And then his son dubbed Heath Ledger.
Oh, excellent. I think Mark Hamill does a very good job at voicing the animated ones.
Yes, he does.
Does the games as well. He's good as Mark.
He's a good actor, Mark Hamill. Let's get rid of Giancarlo Gianni. Who are we putting in, Redford or Hoffman?
Redford.
Okay. Pardon me. Best Actress, we have a wonderful nomination for Jane Alexander for Best Supporting Actress. However, Beatrice Straight, wow, incredible. We'll get to Network. What a bloody performance. Currently, I believe she still holds the award for shortest performance to win an Oscar.
All right.
Because really, she's just got one big scene.
Yeah.
And
But it's a testament to acting, really, isn't it?
Have you seen Network, Will?
I haven't.
It's great. It's my 20th favourite film. As we've talked about, obviously, William Goldman did win his second Oscar, and I can see why. I mean, it's an excellent script, and I think he'd win against better scripts, but these are okay.
Yes.
And we can address the other categories at another time.
The Omen, that's a good score.
It is a good score. Omen's a good film. We like The Omen. No nomination for Gordon Willis, again, for Best Cinematography. This is another Gordon Willis film. We've done Annie Hall, we've done The Graduate. This is the man, really, who coloured this cinematography to the 70s, really, when it comes to film. I mean, when you talk about the 70s on film, you talk about The Godfather, you talk about Annie Hall, you probably talk about one of those three nominations, Taxi Driver, All the President's Men. I think over the years, people looked for different things in cinematography. Because you look here and you've got Logan's Run, and you've got King Kong. Network is beautifully shot, but I don't actually, I wouldn't put it in the top 5 when it comes to cinematography. I think it's awards lie in other categories. Rocky, yeah, all right, give it film editing.
Hey,
I'll give it film editing. Do you like Rocky, Will? I've never been a big Rocky guy.
I do. I enjoy Rocky. Rocky, which one's the one where he's chopping wood?
4.
Rocky 4. That's a meme. My dad gets a lot because he's called Adrian, so that's what people usually shout at him.
People not shout Wall at him? No, because that would be Hadrian.
Oh, that was that. Yeah, that.
I don't think you
don't do that one again.
Jokes anymore. Will. You've had some absolute clunkers. Try and redeem yourself. Will, talk about your favourite building or set.
Yay! Well, it's the Office. It's very, very good. It's I like it when they recreate real life, historical scenes.
Well, this comes from, of course, the period of time when Ben Bradley obviously was alive at the time.
Yes.
And we forget, of course, that there was a period where people didn't know whether this film was going to be some big, lie. And, everything was going to be Hollywoodized. If that's a word. I mean, it's not. But anyway, Hollywoodized and turned into, a big Robert Redford lie fest. But Robert Redford wanted accuracy. And he wanted the accuracy that...
I don't blame him.
That the film is as we know.
It just gives it that added depth of realism, doesn't it? It must be fun to act in as well, I should think.
Yes, they used they bought all the typewriters, and they took real trash from the Washington Post Office and filled the bins. And Jason Robards used to come in on days where he wasn't filming and sit in the office reading a book, just so that his presence in the background of shots, if they caught him, was always there. And what a guy Jason Robards is. Best single minute. I start as this one.
Okay, go for it.
The 3 deep throat scenes, specifically the final cut the chicken shit, and then you're in danger. You're focusing on Segretti. Well, no, that's the second one. You're focusing on Segretti. You're missing the overall. You can't think that was just Segretti. It's just incredible. The break-in that we talked about. The wonderful Jane Alexander scenes. The 2 scenes specifically. One on that I could watch Jane Alexander barely nodding for hours on end. The restraining her neck to when she's just nod, and she just barely nods, but it's more than enough. And also the humor of that first scene where the sister keeps offering coffee, and then the great payoff when he comes in and he's taking it. I'm a walking litter basket, and he's pulling out notes from everywhere. And I'm writing notes on the matchbox, and I was there for 6 hours while she's making the coffee, and then they're deliberating. Okay, so no. You say, who is P? No. We know P is Potter, and then we see it in action, and it works. And Woodward, what a genius! The whole receptionist double cross, I've always enjoyed that, where they where Hoffman tricks the receptionist. You can very much tell it's Hoffman. I mean, we're used to hearing Dustin Hoffman's voice, but pardon me, we're very used to hearing Dustin Hoffman's voice, so we know that it's him. And maybe the receptionist just didn't notice at all, but who knows? And when they go see Sloane again, and they congratulate him on his on the baby.
Yes,
wonderful. Okay, so your single minute, pardon me, Will.
I've got that initial court scene. I like that. I've got that close-up sort of bit where Redford's on the phone about the check, and then he has to ring Dustin back up. I love that. That sudden realization, and then the scene where Dustin's on the phone is like, "If you don't hang up after I count to 10," I love that. That's great.
Denial. It leads to a bit of a dilemma. Best line. Will, you're going to throw some out?
No.
I
mean, I can do if you like. I've not written any down. I'm on IMDb.
You know the results of the latest Gallup poll? Half the country never even heard of the word Watergate. Nobody gives a shit. You guys are probably pretty tired, right? Well, you should be. Going home, get a nice hot bath, rest up, 15 minutes, then get your asses back in gear. We're under a lot of pressure here, you know, and you put us there. Nothing's riding on this except the First Amendment from the Constitution, freedom of the press, and maybe the future of the country. Not that any of that matters. But if you guys fuck up again, I'm going to get mad. Good night. And just like that, he wins an Oscar. And damn right he should. Did you call the White House press office? I went over there. I talked to him. They said Hunt hadn't worked there for 3 months. Then a PR guy said this weird thing to me. He said, I'm convinced that neither Mr. Coulson nor anyone else at the White House had any knowledge or participation in the deplorable incident at the Democratic National Committee. Isn't that what you expect them to say? Absolutely. So, I never asked them about Watergate. I simply asked what were Hunt's duties at the White House. They volunteered he was innocent when nobody asked if he was guilty. Be careful how you write it. Lovely buttons. William Goldman has an excellent job at writing little buttons to scenes. Buttons are the hardest thing to do to a good scene, and they can butcher them. Then we can use their names. No, God damn it, when is somebody going to go on the record in this story? You guys are about to write a story that says the former Attorney General, the highest ranking law enforcement officer in the country, is a crook. Just be sure you're right. Ooh. Well, who is Charles Colson? The most powerful man in the United States is President Nixon. You've heard of him. Charles Colson is special counsel to the president. There's a cartoon on his wall. The caption reads, when you've got them by the balls, their hearts and minds will follow. We know we're dealing with this. Wonderful. Where's the goddamn story? The money's the key to whatever this is. Says who? Deep Throat. Who? Oh, that's Woodward's Garage Freak, his source in the executive department. Garage Freak? Jesus, what kind of crazy fucking story is this? And if you're going to do it right. If you're going to hype it with the facts. I don't mind what you did. I mind the way you did it. Yeah. And that's me. And also one of my favorite little things is, you know, when they're on about Haldeman, and you did worse than that. You made people feel sorry for him. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that you could. So you don't have any favorite lines, well?
I don't.
From one of the finest screenplays of all time.
You let Haldeman slip away.
Yes.
You've done worse than let Haldeman slip away, get people feeling sorry for him. I didn't think that was possible. In a conspiracy like this, you build from the outer edges and you go step by step. If you shoot too high and miss, everybody feels more secure. You put the investigation back months.
Yes, we know that. And if we're wrong, we're resigning. Were we wrong?
You'll have to find that out, won't you?
Listen, I'm tired of your chicken shit games. I don't want hints. I need to know what you know.
What's the change, Will?
What's the change? The dirty president shouldn't have interfered with the Watergate.
True. This is a change not for me. It's a change for other people, including yourself. It seems is the ending. Is that I know the ending, and I know that Nixon resigned, and I know that everything. But I watched this with somebody who didn't. A year or so back, and so the ending, she was like, "Oh, is that it? Oh, right." Because after all, we forget that in '76, that final minute, those 10 headlines, they've been reading that for the past 5 years or so. Yeah. So they knew all that information, but in actuality, somebody who doesn't know that history, that ending sort of is a bit like a whirlwind, and you're like, oh wait, no, so he resigned. Sorry, so what? So it's not. So that's a change, not for me. And I don't know how you change it because I don't want another. I love that
ending because it's again perfectly finished with the typewriter like it started. It's that furious, and then you've got refusing to resign, and then you show the progression, and then that final Nixon resigns. It's wonderful.
George Ford's become the 38th president of the United States. There's a moment in the phone booth where Dustin Hoffman sounds an awful lot like Dorothy Michaels, his Tootsie alter ego. And he goes, it's a big story, Woodward, it's a big story. And I go, oh, that's Dorothy. The bit where Deep Throat does a Batman and Woodward turns around, it's It's effective, it's brilliant, it's tense, it's really well directed, it's really well acted, but it is a bit funny. I mean, not funny, but it's the same Batman problem. You can sort of pass it off because it's Batman, but you can't pass it off when it's just a guy in his 50s and it's just disappearing and you can't hear a single word. But I guess he worked in espionage and who knows.
Yeah.
What's left from Will's notes?
I really like the bit when they're on about Magruder, and then he just lobs a cookie at him.
I don't want a cookie. Anything else?
And that finishes me off.
The typewriters, beautiful. I don't know how. I just found it so soothing. What a soothing, lovely background. I mean, I wouldn't fall asleep to it. I fall asleep to the sound of the sea or a podcast. But anyway, zoom out. Score drops in. Story starts. Exact 30-minute mark. It's the first time we hear the score. It's a wonderful zoom up, and we know what we are dealing with. The amount of times that the White House, the setting of Washington, I mean, it's not a choice they made, it's the Washington Post. But the fact that it is the Washington Post means that you can have multiple scenes where Redford drives past the White House in his taxi. And it's these little moments where they're on the footstep. They're literally in the back garden of where all this shit is going on. This isn't, it's like that great scene in Spotlight where he's looking through the addresses of the pedophiles.
Yeah.
And he realizes that one's been moved.
Right there.
Yeah. And he does he writes it on the fridge. If a man asks, you don't go near the house.
Yeah.
Marvelous. I love the little throwaway where they're discussing all the different stories for the paper to go in that week. And they're on about the rain drought in, I think it's some Asian country, and they go, laugh, gentlemen, it's the only story that everybody will read. And it's true. We're doing all of this work, but in actuality, most people are just going to read the story about the prize pig.
You know the results of the latest Gallup poll? Half the country never even heard of the word Watergate. Nobody gives a shit. You guys are probably pretty tired, right? Well, you should be. Go on home. Get a nice hot bath. Rest up 15 minutes. Then get your asses back in gear. We're under a lot of pressure, and you put us there. Nothing's riding on this except the First Amendment of the Constitution, freedom of the press, and maybe the future of the country. Not that any of that matters. But if you guys fuck up again, I'm going to get mad. Good night.
The multiple stained shirts of Bernstein, lovely little touches. It's never drawn attention to. There's never a scene where he pours coffee all over himself. There's a big coffee stain where you can see where the coffee has fallen, and it's that exact detail. Flawless.
That kind of links back to why I didn't wear that jumper today, because I sat in bed last night and poured my coffee all over myself.
Was watching All the President's Men?
Yes.
Very good.
Would not recommend.
No,
coffee, not All the President's Men.
Yeah, I would recommend All the President's Men.
Yes.
It's great. Alternate ending, Cora. There obviously isn't one. We do have, of course, a few fun facts. One scene involving Robert Redford on the phone is a continuous 6-minute single take with the camera tracking in slowly. Toward the end, Redford calls the phone caller by the wrong name, but as he stays in character, it appears genuine, and the take was used in the final cut, as we discussed. Hal Holbrook was the first and only choice to play the informant Deep Throat. During the casting process, Bob Woodward, while looking at various actors' headshots and resumes, but not revealing Deep Throat's true identity, insisted to director Alan J. Pakula that Holbrook was the best choice to play Deep Throat. Mm. This makes sense because Holbrook bears a very strong resemblance to Mark Felt. So I would have thought if they were really going for anonymity, they're not. You can't pick a black guy because in the 70s there wasn't a high-ranking black member of the CIA, but somebody who looks just the exact opposite. But maybe then people would have gone, oh, nobody looks like that, or I don't know. Nothing was allowed into the script unless it had been meticulously verified and confirmed by independent sources. Robert Redford was in contact with Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein before their book had been written and encouraged them to write more about how they conducted their investigation and less about the events they were reporting. The original book, of course, All the President's Men, was originally supposed to be just a Watergate book. And, you know, William Goldman was struggling with the script for a few months, and then he realized, no, the film is just the first half of the book, because the second half goes into the resignation and stuff. Screenwriter William Goldman had to tone down the dialogue from editor Harry Rosenfield because in real life, Rosenfield was so hilariously funny that Goldman didn't think that people would believe someone could be so spontaneously witty. Nearly 200 desks costing $500 each were purchased from the same firm that sold desks to the Washington Post in 1971. Robert Redford's first choice for Carl Bernstein was Al Pacino.
Oh, I can see that because it's that sort of, yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
Screenwriter William Goldman was called to an impromptu meeting with Redford, Woodward, and Carl Bernstein. At the time, Goldman's draft of the screenplay had been accepted, and they were waiting to hear from Woodward and Bernstein. At the meeting, they presented Goldman with a new screenplay, written by Bernstein and his then-girlfriend, Nora Ephron. Goldman refused to read the screenplay and walked out of the meeting. Goddamn right. Only one scene from that screenplay was in the final version of the film, Bernstein outsmarting a secretary to get him to see someone. This scene was pure fiction. Woodward was allegedly unhappy with Bernstein's script because it depicted Woodward as a naive novice reporter who worshipped Bernstein's superior talent. Woodward later called Goldman to apologize, saying, "I don't know what the 6 worst things I've ever done in my life are, but letting that happen, letting them write that, is one of them." Goddamn right. Robert Redford met Richard Nixon when he was 13. Redford was presented an award for his athletic prowess by the man who would go on to be the president. Even then, Redford said he found the man to be rather creepy. Fair enough. Fair dues. Tom's big question. No, actually, I'm going to save that for when we're done with William Goldman. I was going to say, is this his best script? Because the amount of difficulty to make this film interesting, when it is mainly knocking on doors, looking at different newspaper clippings, writing notes, and for the screen to be that good, it's exceptional. Is this our favourite news movie? We both like Spotlight, but this has to take it.
I'm going to have to think about that because I really do like Spotlight. Because I think that the thing that's taken it because I do like Michael Keaton. That's what's doing it for me. But it's this is definitely in the top 3. I can say that now.
What's the third?
I don't know what the other one is. I don't know what the third
Fletch. Technically, Fletch is a newspaper movie.
Yeah.
Who's the better performance in this film, Redford or Dustin? We said this earlier. You said Redford.
Weird.
I think it might be. I don't know. I think it might be Dustin. Who's the better actor, Robert Redford or Dustin Hoffman? Dustin Hoffman.
We can agree on that.
Yeah.
It's great in Kung Fu Panda. I didn't realise that F. Murray Abraham was in this. That was a nice surprise.
He's the cop at the start. Yeah. One of his first roles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful F. Murray Abraham. What's your favourite F. Murray Abraham? It's Amadeus.
Mighty Aphrodite.
Mighty Aphrodite is incredible. Don't mock Mighty Aphrodite, Will. What a wonderful Woody Allen movie.
Amadeus is great. They're one of my favourite films of all time. Grand Budapest is good in that.
Ding 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 ding. He has another uncredited role in like one of his first ever films. Oh, let me just get this up. You talk about how great Amadeus is.
Amadeus is. It's just been on National Theatre, isn't it? Did you watch it?
I'd already seen that version.
Of course you have. Written by Peter Schaffer, who Is he the brother or is he the one? Because this is the famous.
He's the brother.
Yes.
Wait, the brother of who?
Brother of Sleuth.
Anthony Schaffer wrote Sleuth and
Yes.
The Wicker Man.
And Peter
Schaffer wrote
was
Equus, this. Sorry, not this. Amadeus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought Amadeus at National was excellent. It was one of the few times where I enjoyed having the band on stage part of the action because it works.
It does work.
I hate it in Sweeney. I hated that.
Yeah. Poor Patty.
Poor Patty.
Playing her tuba. Yeah, because it's a big score.
Yeah.
It's not a small score, Sweeney.
Not
really. What was I going to? I didn't like Amadeus. It was too annoying. I know the character is supposed to be annoying, but it was too annoying. Took it far too far. Tom Hulse is just perfect.
Oh,
he's just annoying
wonderful,
enough,
isn't he?
and it's just. But also, you can watch him for 3 hours, or the director's cut 3 hours 20 or whatever it is. You can watch him, whereas that guy was almost insufferable. But I thought Salieri was incredible.
Oh, yes. And he was great as Iago as well.
And he was great in the as Wilfred in Playing Sandwiches, the Talking Heads new monologue. It's great stuff. Lucien Massamati. Excellent stuff. Will, our second Goldman, going into William Goldman month, fortnight, I do believe that next episode is your favourite.
It sure is.
Misery. It's one of my favourites.
I'm very excited.
Yes. I think I've scheduled it rather. I've not spaced it out really because I do believe that you've seen the first 3 Goldmans and you haven't seen Magic, Princess Bride or Marathon Man.
This would be true. And I'm very disappointed that I haven't seen The Princess Bride because it's right up my alley and I should have seen it. I just never have.
And Marathon Man is Laurence Olivier and Dustin Hoffman and Roy Scheider, a political thriller. And Magic is Anthony Hopkins.
Yes.
I think you're going to love all 3 of those movies.
I'll go into more depth in the Magic episode, but I as a child, owned many puppets, marionette puppets. I had a kit. I went to Barter Books in Newcastle, and it was make your own strange, like really creepy paper mechanical doll, and it was like this proper ventriloquist dummy I made, and it's still on top of my wardrobe today. Not this one, but it's my other wardrobe.
Well, you'll have to. Yes. Well.
Yes.
We'll
fun story for another time.
Another time. But for now,
yes.
Have you got any final thoughts on All the President's Men?
Fantastic, educational, and so, a nice bit of acting to go along with it as well.
Yeah, and this is one I would recommend getting. I would recommend everybody get DVDs, Blu-rays and DVDs. Great, but get a nice get the HMV Blu-ray's good. The premium collection HMV. Because that has lots of information to fill you in if you don't understand the history around the film. And maybe I don't know whether to recommend doing the history before, because knowing the history removes some of the mystery, but also you might just get completely lost. I don't know. Either way is fine. It's an excellent film. If you know nothing, you'll enjoy the film. If you know everything, as I do, you'll enjoy the film when you watch it every year. So, William Goldman, 4 more exceptional films to talk about. Very, very exciting stuff. So, I've been Thomas Carruthers.
I've been Will Leggetter.
And we'll see you next time.
Da ba da ba da ba da da.